Sci-fi stuff is fun as hell, and this year we have a bunch of great sci-fi games coming. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanx, 15 science fiction games to look out for in 2018. Just a quick disclaimer for this, Cyberpunk isn't coming in 2018, and System Shock Remastered is currently in hiatus. Because obviously these games would be on this list, but we can't put them on this list. Number 15 is Star Control Origins, a strategy game coming out by Stardock, which, as you know, Stardock knows their crap with the strategy games. Star Control Origins will be functioning as a sequel to the original Star Control, which came out in 1990. The thing that's interesting about Star Control is that it is a multiverse, and Origins takes place in an alternate universe, so the events of the original trilogy will not affect this game. This is both a creative decision and a requirement of a lawsuit, which is always interesting. The game is going to be set in a procedurally generated galaxy intended to mirror the Milky Way in some ways, and will feature a story editor allowing players to create not only dialogue for aliens, but entire new storylines of their own. The game doesn't have a release date, but is slated to come sometime this year. Number 14 is Outreach, a Cold War conspiracy thriller that takes place in space, with you taking the role of a Soviet cosmonaut. There's a communication blackout on a Russian space station and you have to investigate. However, when you get there, nobody's there and you have to figure out what happened, and it's pretty interesting because they've done a lot to create an actually authentic zero-gravity experience with no propulsion, but with you having to push yourself off of surfaces. The game attempts to find humanity in a dead place, but also on a side of history that we don't often search for it, namely the USSR, but with their space program not being that far from our own, just with a slightly different timeline and different technology, it should be interesting to see some of the parallels. There is no hard release date announced at the moment, but again, this is coming in 2018. Number 13 is Objects in Space, a trading game set in space in a huge cluster of star systems light years from Earth known as Apollo, setting you as a ship captain buying and selling various things that you make and find as you attempt to survive in space and not get killed by pirates, criminals, or even some shady governments. Now, this game is put together in an extremely retro way, using old school graphics, old school techniques, and in between the trading and stealth elements, this should actually be a game that's very different. Objects in Space is hitting early access on Steam the 21st of June, and when we find out the actual hard release date, we will make sure you know. Number 12 is Genesis Alpha 1, a somewhat post-apocalyptic game that takes place in space, with the look to find a place, a planet, anywhere where humanity could continue. You see, we ravaged the Earth, basically screwed everything up, and we need somewhere to go. Genesis Alpha 1 is a base building / first-person shooter / exploration game that takes place in a randomly generated galaxy as you attempt to survive, as well as find a place for humanity to go. Now, the action of the first-person shooting elements of the game looks very fast-paced, kind of Doom-like to me, and that's exciting to me because old school Doom and new school Doom, their speed is a kind of thing that we don't see enough of in shooters, because even though it sacrifices a little realism, it's fun as hell. Though I don't think Genesis Alpha 1 is really that concerned with a realistic, grounded world, because like I said, you're fighting off alien hordes looking for a place to live. We aren't there yet. Genesis Alpha 1 is coming summer of this year. Number 11 is Osiris New Dawn, a game that is currently in early access and will supposedly be launching sometime this year. It's had a little bit of a rough start, but we bring it up because of their just sheer potential. Look, we love survival games, but at the same time, we've seen a very large amount of very samey survival games at this point. And Osiris New Dawn looks to bring a sort of new sci-fi edge to that kind of survival that brings us both single-player campaign modes as well as online single and multiplayer modes, in which you can actually build a colony with your friends, battle others, and do of course a lot of the survival stuff. This is a beautiful looking game with a totally unique space-oriented setting with a lot of different environments, which is one of the things that can grow to be a bit of a problem when you're playing survival games, is the just repetition of environment. There are a lot of people that are enjoying this game right now, and it should get better over time, so we look forward to when it actually gets to full release. Number 10 is MechWarrior 5, Mercenaries, which which is the first MechWarrior single-player campaign game in a very long time. It's developed by Piranha Games, the developers of MechWarrior Online, the 2012 game that was received pretty well. And although this game doesn't have the look of a absolutely no-holds-barred graphics powerhouse, it's a pretty decent-looking game that looks like it's probably going to continue the MechWarrior tradition pretty well. Now, if you're not aware, MechWarrior takes place in the BattleTech universe. It sets the player in a large battle mech and puts them on various missions in a simulation-style game. Obviously, it's simulating something that has never existed in real life, but I always used to love these games, and I can't wait to play another one, honestly. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries is slated for release in December. Number 9 is Left Alive, a game coming to you from Square Enix, featuring the artist Yojo Shinkawa, better known as the guy who did all the Metal Gear designs. Other than knowing it is a survival action shooter with mechs in it, we don't even know if you're actually going to be playing the mechs themselves. We do know it takes place in the Front Mission universe. Now, there have been a lot of different types of Front Mission games, but this one looks very much to be a stealth/action/survival game. And it does look like a pretty interesting one at that. It doesn't have a specific release date yet, but it will be coming this year. Number 8 is The Last Night, a positively gorgeous adventure game set in a cyberpunk dystopia in a supposedly post-scarcity world in which creativity is really the thing that is in its decline, as opposed to the kind of money and starvation type problems we have in the world today. It looks like it's going to be tackling some really interesting ideas and issues, and of course it is one of the most gorgeous pixel art oriented games I think I've ever seen in my life. Again, we don't have a firm release date, but it's supposedly coming this year sometime. Number 7 is Crackdown 3, a game that I've talked about too many times, and a game that not having a specific release date for isn't exactly a new thing. However, unlike all of the other games on this list, it has been in the works a long time. And I'm just gonna say this. I like Terry Crews, I'm happy they added him to the game, but what I'm coming here for is the destructible environments, the stylish look, and the wild gameplay. Will this be the year we get Crackdown 3? It's almost tired to even ask at this point, but I really hope we do. We'll see. Number 6 is BattleTech. It is the first game that we have on this list with a firm release date, and I can tell you this because it's already out. It's a turn-based strategy video game. It is developed by a team led by Jordan Weissman, the original creator of the BattleTech universe. BattleTech is a lot like Mech Commander and Mech Assault, games that also take place in the same universe but were developed by different people, although some of the people are actually on Harebrained Studios, Jordan Weissman's team as well. There's also an exchange of assets that's gone on between Piranha Games. Basically, BattleTech has become one serious continuity-oriented universe and a turn-based strategy game, which is basically the roots of computer games for the BattleTech franchise, is exactly what it all needed. I can give you the same description as MechWarrior 5 for exactly what the game is, except for turn-based strategy as opposed to big robot killing simulation. BattleTech is already out, it's been pretty well received, and if you're looking for turn-based strategy, it is a great choice. Number 5 is Biomutant, a game that looks very much to kind of want to tap into the old school 90s platformer mascot thing, but with the option for character customization in a big old open world. In a lot of ways, it looks quite a bit like sort of a Dark Souls Light or a Dark Souls Arcade, but in a giant open world, lush environment filled with trees and nature and all of that. And I realize that's a bit of a muddled description, but it is a game that looks to be drawing from a lot of different places. It sells itself as having branching storylines where decisions made by the player will make a difference in what happens later. I know we've heard that before, but never really in a goofy context like this. Although the game does look to be quite serious as well, I have a feeling this is going to remain an enigma until we actually get the full game to play, which, surprise surprise, there is no set release date for, but it is coming this year. Number 4 is Deep Rock Galactic, which is kind of like Minecraft combined with No Man's Sky, combined with Left 4 Dead. I know that sounds like an utterly bizarre amount of things to combine, but it really does take the best ideas from those 3 different franchises and combines them into one thing, at least in my opinion. You play play as 4 dwarves in space, mining through various environments and having to kill a lot of enemies, bugs, and the like. It's a hybrid of a shooter and a miner, and it is beyond gorgeous. It is so much fun, and I'm really excited for it to come out of early access, which should be happening sometime in the near future. It's a pretty solid game already, and it's already awesome. Play it. Number 3 is Metro Exodus, a first-person shooter set in a post-apocalyptic Russia. It follows the events of Metro 2033 and Last Light, and one of the things I think that sets this game apart most distinctively is just the environment and monsters. It's such a different looking game from a lot of what you would call post-apocalyptic games. It's snowy, and the monsters are kind of clunky and mutant-y in a way that you don't see a lot. Like, at no point do you see this game and think it's anything other than Metro Exodus. At this point, I haven't even played it. I think it has a distinct look, although it does draw from the look of the previous games, of course. But it supposedly alternates between a more sandbox-type environment as well as linear areas, and I'm really looking forward to how that plays out. It really seems like a shooter that I'm extremely interested in. It's coming out in Q3 of 2018, and I have a feeling it's going to be one that I play a lot. Number 2 is Dual Universe, a first-person space simulation sandbox MMO, and it is incredibly ambitious. What people have said it combines is just basically an endless list of space games that promised big and maybe didn't entirely deliver, or delivered, and it would be wild to see it combine into something else, and Minecraft. So you're talking EVE Online, Star Citizen, Space Engineers, No Man's Sky. It goes on and on, the comparisons I've seen to this game. Human civilization has to leave Earth. It does, it finds a new place, it starts over, and that's where you come in. And in every way it seems like an economy management, resource management, combat exploration, just every kind of game, except for it's moving along a lot faster than certain other games that have promised the same thing. Supposedly we'll be seeing this game this year. I have my fingers crossed. It does seem like a pretty interesting one. And finally, number 1 is Detroit Become Human, another branching narrative experience from the creators of Heavy Rain. Detroit Become Human has over 500 different human actors portraying all of the many characters, and apparently a lot of these characters are killable and branch the narrative in various ways, where we learn about what it is to become human as an android living in Detroit. It makes sense they titled the game that way, of course. Now, this is a gorgeous game that's been in development a very long time with a very large scope, and it's not just that makes it impressive. It actually kind of seems like a unique idea, at least something we haven't actually seen before, so if it delivers on that scale, I'd say we're in for a pretty wild ride. And a couple of bonus games for you. X4 Foundations, a quote-unquote universe simulator, the latest in the X series. X4 allows you to pilot all of the ships in the game, build space stations, and manage an empire. Starchild, a PSVR cinematic sci-fi platformer with a pretty unique look and an interesting world to explore. And finally, Mid-Air, a spiritual successor to the Tribes franchise. Mid-Air is a free-to-play FPS that prominently features jetpacks and an emphasis on teamwork. There's some debate over whether or not Tribes was a good game to model the game after. Many say it could have been simplified a bit, but truthfully it's kind of a game for people who like Tribes, and maybe more will get into it. What sci-fi game are you looking forward to most this year? Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, and if you are not subscribed, now would be a great time to do so, because we upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is of course a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.